A billionaire CEO named Elena Ward, 30 years old, walked through her private hangar with sharp heels clicking against the polished floor. Her presence alone made everyone tense. She was known for her strict discipline, ice-cold confidence, and impossibly high expectation. The employees straightened their backs immediately when she passed, scared of disappointing her even for a second. Across the hangar, a 35-year-old single dad and former Air Force mechanic named Daniel Hale worked quietly on a massive jet engine. His hands were rough, his uniform slightly worn, and his eyes carried the weight of responsibilities most people couldn't imagine. He had a daughter at home depending on him, and he couldn't afford mistakes. Elena didn't know his story. She only saw a mechanic standing beside an engine that had malfunctioned before her upcoming international meeting. The jet had to fly within hours. She marched toward him, her voice echoing across the facility as everyone turned their heads to watch. "So you're the one they brought in to fix this disaster?" she asked, with a mocking tone sharp enough to cut metal. Daniel didn't flinch. He had dealt with worse in his military days. "I'll do my best, ma'am," he replied calmly. That only irritated her. She stepped closer, crossing her arms tightly, and raised her chin with a smirk that made the onlookers whisper. "Your best better be enough. Fix this engine and—" She paused dramatically. "I'll marry you. Deal?" Laughter erupted around them. She expected Daniel to stumble, blush, or laugh nervously. Instead, he simply looked at her with steady eyes. "Ma'am, I'm here to work, not joke," he said. His voice wasn't rude, just firm. The reaction stunned Elena, who wasn't used to anyone speaking to her without fear. Something about his composure unsettled her more than she expected. Daniel turned toward the engine, slipping on his gloves and inspecting the complex mechanisms. He could feel every eye in the hangar watching him, waiting for him to fail. But he shut out the noise and focused. He remembered how he used to repair aircraft engines during emergencies in the desert. Compared to that, this engine was child's play. Elena watched him more closely than she intended. There was something compelling about the way he moved, efficient, confident, deliberate. His hands didn't hesitate, and his eyes scanned the machinery with precision. It irritated her that he wasn't intimidated. She was used to having total control, and Daniel didn't give her that satisfaction. When Daniel discovered a damaged pressure regulation valve, he motioned for a replacement. The junior mechanic froze, terrified of approaching the CEO. Elena raised an eyebrow. Daniel simply walked over himself, retrieved the part, and continued to work. She followed him silently, observing his calm authority as he reassembled the engine piece by piece. Minutes stretched into an hour as Daniel tightened the final bolts and manually tested the rotational system. The crew watched in complete silence. When he switched on the auxiliary power test, the engine roared to life, smooth, steady, and stronger than before. No sputtering, no warnings, no errors. The entire hangar broke into applause. Elena's eyes widened, completely unprepared for the wave of admiration directed toward Daniel. He didn't react to the applause. He simply wiped his hands and stepped aside, letting the engine speak for itself. Suddenly, she felt embarrassed about her earlier mocking challenge. She realized she had underestimated him entirely. She approached him slowly, feeling her pride crumble. The hangar grew silent again, as the CEO stopped in front of the mechanic she had insulted only hours earlier. "You really fixed it," she said, her voice softer than anyone had ever heard it. Daniel nodded, offering a polite but distant smile. Elena hesitated, something she never did. "I shouldn't have mocked you. I didn't know you were a former military engineer." Daniel shook his head. "You don't need to know my past to treat me with respect," he said gently. The employees exchanged looks, shocked at how her expression changed. For the first time, Elena truly looked at him, not as a mechanic, but as a capable man who had earned every bit of respect he received. She breathed out slowly, grounding herself. You were right, she admitted, and I owe you more than an apology. Daniel didn't respond, waiting for her to continue. She straightened, gathering her courage, then spoke quietly so only he could hear. The offer wasn't a joke, she said with surprising vulnerability. I only said it to embarrass you, but I meant the part where I'd like to see you again. Daniel blinked, stunned, not expecting the woman who mocked him to show sincerity. He smiled gently for the first time. Let's start with dinner, he said. Elena nodded, relieved and almost shy, a side of her no one had seen before. As the engine cooled and the employees dispersed, she walked beside him toward the exit, her earlier arrogance replaced with respect. In that hangar, surrounded by machinery and the echo of their earlier tension, something new began. Two people from different worlds meeting in the middle, not because of a deal, but because they finally saw each other clearly.